Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Will Daphne Rose steal Carter's heart? Daphne Rose from the Bold and the Beautiful was brought into Forrester Creations to assist the family reclaim control of the company, but will it work? Carter Walton and Hope Logan are currently running the show, but the majority of the Forresters refuse to work for them. They feel this well-known perfumer simply happened to be available when they needed her the most. Little do they know, Daphne has been tasked with creating the perfect smell while demolishing things. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, Steffi Forrester and Daphne Rose, are working together. Daphne may have produced the ideal signature scent for Forrester Creations, but Steffi Forrester plans for her to do much more. Steffi has devised a strategy to utilize Daphne to help her reclaim control of her family's business, and Daphne is completely on board. B&B spoilers, how solid are Carter Walton and Hope Logan really? Carter and Hope collaborated for years before any sparks flew. Carter appeared to be looking at her differently, and a secret relationship bloomed. These two started off with some great chemistry, but it quickly faded in favor of joint ventures. Instead of developing a relationship, they resorted to continually complimenting one another at work. Within a few months, these two have partnered up to take over Forrester Creations, and cracks are beginning to appear. Hope definitely disagreed with Carter's decision to reinstate Steffi as president of Forrester Creations, and without a similar purpose, these two may have little else. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, will Daphne Rose win Carter Walton's heart? It is evident that Daphne is working overtime to entice Carter into more than just business. She approaches him so closely that she could almost climb into his clothing, and Carter appears to be a smitten schoolboy. He doesn't aware that getting him in bed could be part of Steffi's plan for Daphne. Anything that hurts Hope is a victory for Steffi. Will Carter remain loyal to Hope? Has their relationship progressed to the point where it makes sense for him to be so committed to her? What if Daphne plays the game and develops actual feelings for Carter? What if what began as a game evolved into a genuine triangle? Daphne Rose starts working on Carter. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers for Friday, January 31st, 2025 indicate a huge day for Carter, who will have no idea what hit him. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, Steffi Forrester's plan in action. Steffi Forrester Finnegan didn't care that Ridge Forrester had warned her to stick to her arrangement with Daphne Rose. She tells Daphne to do her thing regardless, which is exactly what she does. Daphne arranges for Carter Walton to be alone in Eric Forrester's office and plays up his charm and sexual appeal. Carter believes things are becoming too close for comfort, but it is difficult for him to resist a lady like Daphne, or any woman for that matter. Steffi is well aware that Carter has a tendency to fall for women easily, so she believes he will forget about Hope Logan once Daphne gets her claws into him. Steffi has turned ruining Hope's love life into a vocation, despite the fact that it never ends well for her. Carter, like Steffi, is playing with fire. Carter is unsure what to think of Daphne's approaches, but he can't exactly order her to go. In his mind, she is going to prove him correct and propel Forrester Creations to new perfumed heights. B&B spoilers, is Poppy Nozawa lying through her teeth? Poppy Nozawa insists that John Finn Finnegan is not Luna Nozawa's father, but would Finn trust her at this point? It took her so long to respond to his question that there was no way she could be telling him the truth. Why did she hesitate? She has every motivation to keep lying. After all, Lee Finnegan has now forgiven her and wishes to establish a sisterly bond. Poppy isn't about to let that go by telling Finn he has an adult daughter. Finn may simply perform a paternity test if he wants. He can simply collect a sample from Luna, just like his mother did. Will Finn decide to seek answers for himself rather than listen to his aunt's deceptive words? Daphne's secret meeting, Poppy's denial, and Bill's truth bomb. Penelope Poppy Nozawa claims John Finn Finnegan is not Luna Nozawa's father. Bill Spencer also tells Luna why he never contacted Poppy following their one-night stand. The Bold and the Beautiful recap, John Finnegan's demand. According to the B&B recap, Finn continues to question Poppy if Luna is his child. Finn reminds Poppy how they used to share everything. Finn wonders if there are other guys. Poppy will not respond to Finn's questions. Finn begins naming everyone's names, even the yoga guy. Poppy is obviously annoyed. Poppy admits Finn was not the only one. Finn claims he deserves the truth, and she needs to start communicating. Poppy tears, saying it hurts to be implicated by him. Poppy took care of Finn. The excellent doctor continues to demand answers. Finn asks Poppy if she was startled by Lee Finnegan's paternity test. Finn also mentions Tom Starr. Poppy begs Finn to quit, but he refuses. Finn advises Poppy that if she wants to relieve her stress, she should simply tell the truth. Poppy weeps for Luna's halted future. Poppy attempted to raise Luna properly, but it was difficult. Finn believes Poppy needs closure. Finn is also in need of closure. Poppy claims Finn is not Luna's father. B&B recap: Luna Nozawa's therapy. Luna receives an advanced copy of a magazine. Luna thanks Bill, but he reminds her that he controls a publishing company. Bill is the father Luna wishes she had. Bill claims he can see himself in Luna. Bill and Luna have grown close because they both have unstable mothers. Luna says that she used to assume vulnerability meant weakness. Luna now recognizes that it's best to get everything out. Luna now wants to aid Bill. Bill pretends to be beyond his childhood, but Luna disagrees. Bill notes that Poppy was extremely similar to his own mother. Bill admits that's why he never contacted her following their one-night encounter. Luna claims her mother is a compulsive liar. The Bold and the Beautiful recap: Carter Walton's regret. According to the Bold and the Beautiful recap, Carter Walton and Hope Logan are at Forrester Creations' CEO office. Hope thanks Carter with rebuilding her life after it had fallen apart. Carter claims they're a team. Hope is just relieved that they no longer have to answer to Steffi Forrester Finnegan. Carter still wishes he were working on this vision with Ridge Forrester. According to Hope, maintaining the status quo is not the way to expand a firm. Daphne gets mentioned. Hope believes the scent line will have a greater impact than people understand. Hope and Carter are both intrigued by Daphne. Hope admires Daphne and is eager to collaborate with her. Daphne steps inside the Cliff House. Steffi and Daphne are meeting privately. Steffi adores Daphne's new perfume. They believe Carter will enjoy it too. Steffi claims Carter is smitten with Hope, but she is simply using him. Daphne is still trying to figure out what will bring Carter to her. Ridge pushes through the door, demanding to know what is going on. Steffi and Daphne do not explain. Instead, Daphne assures that the scheme will succeed. Steffi calls it Operation Carter Walton. Suddenly, Carter texts Daphne. She leaves, leaving Ridge and Steffi marveling about her attractiveness. As Daphne arrives inside Forrester Creations, Hope describes her as seductive. Meanwhile, Carter is enamored with Daphne's smell. Daphne's magical charm, Steffi's sneaky approval, and Hope's Jeopardy. Daphne will put her magical charm to work on Carter Walton. Continue reading to learn more about what will happen in the next episode of CBS's soap drama. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers: Daphne Rose's magical charm. B&B teasers for Friday, January 31st indicate that Daphne will put her charm to the test. Ridge Forrester cautioned Daphne and Steffi. Ridge doesn't know the intricacies of the plan, but he wants to make sure everything is legal. Ridge does not want to risk regaining control of the company only to have it taken away again due to a technicality or plan. Similarly, Justin Barber has been unable to assist the Forrester family. Carter Walton was impressed. Carter and Hope Logan will continue to be charmed and intrigued by Daphne. So yet, Hope appears to have no suspicions about Daphne. Hope, like Carter, is intrigued and drawn to Daphne. Carter is impressed, but will he fall for Daphne's scheme? Daphne seemed to understand that getting Carter away from Hope will require more than just her attractive looks and a pleasant fragrance. In fact, Daphne told Steffi that she has yet to find out what draws Carter in. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers: Hope Logan's Jeopardy. Hope praises Carter with bringing her broken life back together. Of fact, Hope's entire future depends on her infatuation with Carter. If Hope is unable to keep Carter, she risks losing control of both Steffi and her fashion brand. In tomorrow's episode, fans may witness Luna Nozawa continue bonding with Bill Spencer. John Finnegan may also be conducting an investigation following Penelope Poppy Nozawa's denial. Could Finn opt to do his own paternity tests? After all, the hospital has Luna's DNA on file, and Finn is aware of it because to Lee Finnegan's confession. How will Finn's life alter after he finds out the answer? Will Finn be able to tell Steffi? Finn sat in his truck, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles became white. His mind was a tempest, with thoughts colliding and refusing to settle. Poppy's words still resonated in his ears, "You are not Luna's father." He wanted to believe she was lying, that she was playing a cruel game, but something inside him told him she wasn't. He needed proof. He needed something indisputable, something physical that would reveal the truth. He required a paternity test. The thought made his stomach turn. He had never questioned his role in Luna's life before. She was his tiny kid, his entire universe. From the minute he held her small body to his chest, he knew his life would change forever. Every bruised knee, every bedtime story, and every murmured "I love you, Daddy" helped shape who he was. And now Poppy's telling him it was all a lie? No. He would not accept it without proof. With trembling palms, he took out his phone and searched for the nearest paternity testing facility. The shimmering screen felt surreal, as if he were witnessing someone else's life unravel. His heart raced as he called the phone. DNA Diagnostics, how can I assist you? A receptionist's voice chimed on the other end. Finn gulped hard. I need a paternity test. The words felt odd and incorrect. He should not have to utter them. He should not have to utter them. Of course. We can set up an appointment for you and the child. She's my daughter, Finn interrupted. His voice cracked slightly, but he wasn't concerned. I just need to be sure. Understood, the receptionist said, her tone more measured now. We can meet you as early as tomorrow. Will the mother bring the child in? Finn clenched his jaw. Will Poppy even agree to this? He had no idea. But it didn't matter. He'd find a way. I'll handle it, he replied. As he finished the conversation, he felt the weight of the choice fall on him like a lead blanket. What happens if the test confirms what Poppy said? Will he walk away? Can he? No. DNA did not alter love. It didn't erase the years he'd spent raising Luna or the bond they'd developed. He still needed to know. Meanwhile, across town, Carter was falling deeper under Daphne's influence, although unconsciously. She had a way about her, a presence that slipped into the corners of his head, wrapped around his ideas like misty tendrils. When she spoke, her voice drew him in, smooth as silk, captivating and impossible to ignore. Then there was her perfume, soft, floral, but with something deeper, richer underlying it. It lingered to the air between them, overwhelming his senses and making it difficult to think of anything but her. They were seated in her dimly lit apartment, candles flickering on the table, creating shadows that danced over the walls. She leaned forward slightly, resting her chin on her palm and giving him a knowing smile. You've been different lately, she said softly. Carter blinked, scarcely registering her words. What? Daphne chuckled gently, her eyes glinting in the candlelight. You're more receptive. Carter didn't know what that meant, but he didn't care. He simply knew that being with her felt fantastic. It felt right. She reached across the table, just touching his wrist. The contact sent shivers up his spine. Do you trust me, Carter? The words rested in his thoughts like a suggestion, soaking in. Did he trust her? Yes. Wait. He paused for a fraction of a second, a small, logical portion of his brain whispering that this was strange, that his feelings for her had grown too quickly and fiercely. But she smiled, and the thought vanished like sugar in warm water. Of course, he muttered. Daphne smiled wider. Good. He didn't even know he was leaning in slightly, pulled to her without realizing it. He didn't wonder why his heart rate had slowed, or why his body felt so comfortable while so concentrated on her. He didn't consider any of it. That's precisely how she wanted it. The next morning, Finn stood outside Poppy's house, his jaw hard and his hands locked into fists. He'd scarcely slept. The visit was in a few hours, and he needed her agreement. When she eventually opened the door, her face was unreadable. Finn. Luna needs a paternity test, he stated without further ado. I'm not walking away until I have proof. Poppy moaned and rubbed her temple. Finn. No. His voice was harsh and unrelenting. I do not care what you believe you know. I deserve the truth. For a time, Poppy simply stared at him. She then nodded, which surprised him. Fine. Finn sighed, releasing some of the strain in his chest, but not all of it. They still had a long way to travel. By midday, the test was completed. Now all he had to do was wait. Carter, meanwhile, was sliding farther. That afternoon, Daphne had accompanied him to an art gallery, which he would not have visited otherwise. But with her by his side, everything felt different. The colors, textures, and shapes, everything seemed more vivid and alive. Or maybe it was just her. He barely noticed when she drew him to a halt in front of a painting, a whirling combination of blues and golds, chaotic yet lovely. This, she said quietly, is what it feels like. Carter turned to face her. What does it feel like? She smiled, and the aroma of her perfume filled his lungs once more, gentle but inescapable. Surrender. His thinking became blurry. Something about the word made him tremble, but not so much that he wanted to run away. Quite the reverse. He wanted to give in. He already was. Days have gone. Finn checked his phone every hour, waiting for the findings, and his gut twisted with each new notification. When the call eventually arrived, his heart nearly stopped. This is Finn, he said, his voice tight. Mr. Callahan, the technician stated. We have your results. Finn's throat became dry. He forced himself to speak. And? There was a pause. Then. You are not the biological father. Finn felt the world wobble beneath him. The words landed like a sledgehammer in his chest, knocking the air from his lungs. He scarcely registered the rest of what the technician stated, which was about accuracy, options, and counseling if necessary. None of this mattered. Luna was not his. He abruptly ended the conversation and remained standing. The weight of the truth crushed him more than anything else he had ever held. He was aware that it was a possibility, but hearing it, knowing for certain, was a very different experience. He'd lost something today. Not something. Everything. And yet, while Finn's world crumbled, Carter's was being rewritten. That evening, he was back at Daphne's place, though he couldn't remember how he got there. He simply knew that he needed to see her and be close to her. She opened the door, and he grabbed for her without thinking or reluctance. Daphne smiled as he pulled her close and brushed his lips across hers. Carter didn't notice her eyes glinting with joy as her aroma overwhelmed his senses. Hope had no idea she was heading directly into Steffi's trap. If she had, she might not have opened that door and entered the heartbreaking scene that would shatter her heart into 1,000 jagged pieces. Maybe she would have ignored Steffi's smug little sneer when she planted the seed of doubt, dismissing her warnings as just another attempt to ruin her happiness. But no, Steffi had been too precise and arrogant, and Hope's own fears had done the rest, pulling her down a path she couldn't back out of. She stood still in the doorway, air taken from her lungs, pulse screaming in her ears, as she saw Carter, wrap his arms around Daphne in the most intimate way imaginable. Carter wasn't simply with Daphne, she engulfed him. His hands, which had earlier caressed Hope's body with devotion, suddenly gripped Daphne's waist with hunger, causing bile to rise in Hope's throat. His lips, the lips that had whispered promises of eternity on her flesh, were traveling down Daphne's collarbone, tasting and devouring. Their bodies were crushed together, moving in a rhythm that conveyed familiarity, passion, and something that had been simmering long before this moment. The dark lighting in Daphne's apartment, the subtle flicker of candles on the coffee table, and the air rich with the floral spice aroma of Daphne's distinctive perfume all contributed to an image that was too vivid, too intimate, and too purposely alluring. This was not an error. This was not an impulsive error in judgment. This was planned. Hope wanted to scream, turn and flee, or do anything other than stand there, helpless, watching the man she loved betray her in the worst way possible. However, her feet refused to move. Her body refused to comply. She was immobilized, locked in the cruelest type of nightmare, one in which she was awake, every detail was scorched into her mind, and there was no way to awaken from the torment that was sinking into her bones. Daphne's eyes flashed open. For a little moment, Hope held out hope that Daphne would appear terrified, guilty, or apologetic. That she would push Carter away and stammer out an apology, realizing the devastation she had caused. But Daphne did not do any of that. She smirked. A slow, knowing, victorious smirk sent a new wave of nausea slamming over Hope. Daphne had intended this to happen. It was planned for Hope to find them this way. She'd won. The understanding drove a white-hot bolt of pain through Hope's chest, jolting her out of her frozen state. She staggered back, catching Carter's attention, and he jerked away from Daphne. His breathing was erratic, and his face was clouded with perplexity, as if he had woken up from a trance. His black eyes met Hope's, and fear washed over them instantly. "Hope," he rasped, his voice heavy with skepticism and almost regretful. Unfortunately, it was too late. Hope has seen enough. She let out a trembling breath, forcing herself to maintain his stare even as her heart broke. "Don't," she said quietly, her voice scarcely heard through the ringing in her ears. She shook her head, as if doing so would erase what she had just observed, rewinding time to before she had ever gone through this door. But there was no way to undo this. There will be no returns. Carter grabbed for her, his look urgent, but Hope took another step back, shaking her head more firmly this time. "Don't you dare try to explain this to me," she yelled, her voice gaining strength from agony, rage, and betrayal. "Don't insult me like that." "Hope, Carter began, but he did not appear to have the words. Maybe because there were no words, no excuses, and no way to make things better. Daphne, of course, appeared entirely unconcerned. She ran her fingers through her hair, tilting her head, and looked at Hope with something resembling amusement. "Well," she murmured, her voice smooth and sexy, as if she weren't standing there half-dressed with another woman's partner. "That was unfortunate timing." Hope's entire body burned with the desire to slap that smug expression off her face. "You planned this," she claimed, her voice quivering with rage. "Didn't you?" Daphne simply raised her brow. "I didn't make Carter come to me, darling," she whispered gently, her gaze flickering toward him, possessive and dark. "That was his choice." Hope took in a short breath, her gaze drawn to Carter, hoping, praying, that he would deny it. That he would fight for her. But he did not. His face was a mask of remorse and regret, but there was no immediate protest, no firm proclamation that Daphne was lying, that he had been duped, and that there had been no option. Because it had been. And that, more than anything else, broke Hope. She laughed bitterly, despite the fact that there was nothing even humorous about the situation. "Wow," she muttered, her voice breaking. "I was such an idiot." Carter made another step toward her, raising his hands as if he could reverse the damage he had caused. "Hope, please, just let me explain." Hope raised a hand, her fingers quivering. "No," she interrupted him, her voice rough with emotion. "You do not get to explain. You did it, Carter. You chose her." Her voice cracked on the last phrase, but she refused to let herself go, refusing to give any of them the gratification of seeing her fully fall apart. Carter's jaw tightened, and his gaze shifted to Daphne for half a second, long enough for Hope to notice. That reluctance. That's a conflict. That proved that, even now, in the ruins of their relationship, he wasn't completely regretful.